Hey everyone, I just want to make a quick note on this video. I filmed the video, was very happy with it, and everything I'm saying is based on an article written by Giant Freaking Robot. But at the time, I didn't realize that there seems to be a lot of debate around their legitimacy. So even though I'm very clear in the video that Paramount has not actually come out and said they're going to be doing this, I just want to reiterate that. But I was fairly certain at the time. Now I'm kind of wondering if this is even going to happen. So just please take everything in this video with a grain of salt. I still think it's a good video, which is why I'm releasing it. And I think just talking about a TNG reboot is always cool. So please enjoy. But again, take everything in this video with a grain of salt. Now, let's get on with it. Hey Trekkies, welcome back to another Yelling About Star Trek video. My name is Christian Fox, and this is a channel where I yell at you about all things Star Trek for your amusement. In case you missed it, the website Giant Freaking Robot just broke a story where they basically said that, hey, you know what, guys? The next Kelvin movie is going to be rebooting TNG. Now, this hasn't been confirmed officially by the studio, which is Paramount in this case, but the website claims that it's a really trustworthy source, so it seems like it is very likely to happen. Now, I know that the Kelvin films get a lot of hate, but I actually really like them. I loved 1 and 2, and the third one, which is Star Trek Beyond, was not my favorite, and in fact, it is my least favorite Star Trek film ever made, but that is a discussion for a whole other time. And I really enjoyed those movies because, well, they're visually stunning, and they especially were visually stunning back in 2009, but I love this idea that you could get a Star Trek movie set in the Star Trek universe, but you could have the characters that we have come to know and love but be different. I remember when they first said, oh, by the way, this is going to basically overwrite all of Star Trek canon. I was not pleased, but then as soon as they were like, oh yeah, this is actually going alongside of canon, just in a parallel universe, I was all in because I love being able to see a more angsty Kirk, a Kirk that doesn't have his father. I love seeing a younger Spock who isn't quite as polished and one who is dealing with the loss of his entire planet. So these films really allowed you to explore things that were never explored in the original series and in the rest of Star Trek canon because events were happening differently, so we could see different sides. And when that movie came out, and perhaps even before it came out, I was like, well, they're rebooting the original series. What about Star Trek TNG? How are they going to deal with Picard? Are they going to reboot them? Are we going to get different versions of Picard and the rest of the crew? Is that possible? And I was always fascinated by it. And what I think is especially interesting about this reboot is that because we're already in a universe that is so vastly different than the Prime universe, we can expect to see some really unique things happening in this reboot. And if in fact it does reboot TNG, and then we get more movies, maybe even a series, who knows, it could happen, then we are going to see things that we have never seen before. And I love it. You know, one of the things I thought about when this was announced was, well, what about Picard? Picard that we know is super wise and super moral and really just an amazing captain, and that's why he's my favorite captain of all time. But he also didn't really have a great relationship with his family, and you know, his nephew Rene is someone who he wished he had gotten closer to, but then unfortunately couldn't when they tragically died in the fire. And he was able to make peace with his brother, but again, he didn't have that much time with him. So one of the theories I had is, well, what if this Picard is actually more family-oriented? Because we know that Captain Picard idolized Captain Kirk. And in this timeline, Captain Kirk doesn't have a father. So it's very likely that that is something that is obviously made in the history books. And so basically what that means is that Picard, growing up hearing about how Kirk was this amazing person, but didn't have his father with him and always missed that, then Picard might be like, hey, I should actually be more focused on my family, and maybe that's something I want to do. So maybe he is closer with Renee, maybe he is closer with his brother, or maybe even has kids of his own. We don't know, but it could happen. So I would love to see that side of Captain Picard being explored. And what's so great is because it's not in the Prime universe, they can do whatever they want. They can change continuity. They could make Captain Picard a more family-oriented person without it impacting Prime Picard, which I love. We might even get someone like Tasha Yar to be a more compelling character because after all, this is 2022 and it will likely be coming out in 2023 or 2024, whenever that is. But the point is that now we have modern writers writing a character like Tasha Yar. So she is going to be given the justice that we wish she had in the original series. And by original series, I mean in TNG, not TOS. There's all these things that we could explore because now we're playing in this different universe. And I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what they do with it. And I think because, again, this is a modern show being made in modern times, we are going to get so much more character development. We might get a Deanna Troi that is very similar to the one that we know and love, but we might get to see her actually doing her job. And I don't mean that dismissively, like, oh, she doesn't do her job, but she's a therapist. But we never get to see her really dealing with her patients except for a couple of episodes. So we might be able to see more of that and see her interacting with other crew members that we know and have come to grow and love, but we get to see them being helped by Troi the same way we got to see her help Barclay for all those years. And I think that'd be really cool. We'll get some more exploration with Dr. Crusher, and maybe we'll see Jack. Maybe Jack doesn't die in this timeline, and we can see what that would be like. But there's just so many possibilities. I'm very excited. And of course, I really want to know if they're rebooting TNG, how is the Enterprise D going to look? Because it's funny, when 2009 came out, people kept comparing the bridge to the Apple Store. And when TNG came out, everybody compared the Enterprise to the Marriott Hotel. So those are two very big things that people recognize. So I wonder, what's it going to be like? Is it going to look like an Apple campus? Is it going to look more like the Marriott Hotel kind of style that we're used to? How is it going to look? And I'm very excited because, again, whatever they do is fine because it's not impacting Prime Universe. And so if they make Picard completely different or they make the Enterprise bridge look completely different, it's going to be okay because it's not going to impact anything that's already happened on TNG, and we'll have all of those seasons, and that will not be affected by what they do in the new Star Trek IV TNG reboot. So I'm very excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I definitely want to sit down and actually do a Who Would They Cast video because that never gets old. But what about you? What do you think? Are you excited about this announcement? Are you hyped up for a TNG reboot? Or are you like, nope, don't want any part of it. I didn't like the Kelvin films, and they should not be touching TNG. Please don't do it. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And in the paraphrased words of Captain Kirk, I shall see you out there. That away.